All right, so welcome to the first episode of Simple Talk. I'm here, Dominique Kendrick. We're just going to be going over a couple things, just a couple questions that people have. We're going to have a couple guests, a couple people to step in and give their opinion on a couple different things. So sit back, relax. Simple Talk is here. All right, so for my first guest, I have John Kendrick. John Kendrick just so happens to be related to me. He's my little brother. And we're just going to talk about first time gun ownership and what things that we go through, different feelings that we have when it comes to actually purchasing a firearm. So, John, my little brother JJ, I'm gonna call him JJ. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
What's up, everybody? Yeah, I'm John Kendrick. I go by JJ though. I am Mr. Simple Carries Life little brother, and I just purchased my first firearm. And he kind of walked me through this experience. I had seen him purchase a firearm before, so I kind of knew what to expect. But it's different when you go to buy your first one.
All right. So, real quick, we've been to the range before. When I first got my first firearm, I took him to the range along with my parents, and just try to get them introduced to firearms. I think I got a picture somewhere. But yeah, took him to the range. First time, you're a little nervous, but he did really well. We went over the firearm safety rules. We talked before we got in there to make sure he was comfortable, and he did really, really well. But now, I got a question for you. So, how is it like we go to the range? You shot my guns. Then after we were done, I put them up, put them in my box, and you went on about your life. Didn't have a gun. Didn't have to worry about a gun. Didn't have to worry about having a firearm. So, how is it different now compared to just going to the range and shooting with somebody and actually owning and maintaining and carrying your own firearm?
It's definitely a boost in responsibility. Being that when you have a firearm, you have to take in consideration that you have the ability to change your life in a good or a bad way. So you have to make sure that you're using discretion when you have your firearm and that you're using the proper safety, especially when you choose to carry.
Okay. Now, so you're going on 28 this week. Happy early birthday. You know what I'm saying? But so from where we live at, the age is 21 to purchase a pistol. So from the age of 21 until now, 7 years. Why now? Why get a firearm now compared to all this time that when you could have purchased one or you could have had one? What made you make the decision now to get a firearm?
I was going to the store and I had a gentleman approach me while I first pulled my car in, and I saw this guy was standing outside his car, probably having some type of car trouble. He looked over into my window. I kind of felt like he was going to want to speak to me, so I just parked in another place because I was like, "Hey, not tonight. I had just gotten off work. I was just simply trying to get to the store and get out." And
Right.
so as I'm walking towards the store door, he starts yelling. I said, "Hey man, I don't have anything for you. I'm going into the store." And then he starts to kind of like get aggressive and start walking towards me. And in my mind, I'm like, man, if this guy walks up on me, I don't know if he has a knife or a gun or whatever, but all I got is these. And I don't know if these are going to be enough. I just don't
Right.
know if these are going to be enough to hold anybody off. And so at that point, I was like, man, it was fear. It was fear. It's like,
Yeah.
how could I defend myself with more than just my hands? What if this guy has a knife? There's not going to be much I can do. And so at that moment, I was like, you know what? I need to be able to defend myself if it comes down to it. And so that's when I then called you not too long after that and let you know that I would be purchasing a firearm. I
Yeah.
just, man, when something like that, when it hits that close, because of course, you've seen people get into it with other people, but at that moment, like in the situation I was in with it being dark, him walking towards me, you just don't know. And so
Right.
I would rather have I would rather have and not need than to need and not have.
Correct. Correct. So it was more of an eye opener for you than maybe for someone who might have had something happen to them, and then it's like, okay, but it was more of like an eye opener, like, you know what, maybe I should get something to just in case. Not saying that you want to use it, but just in case you want to
Right,
have something to protect yourself. Okay,
right.
I'm with that.
Definitely. I just want to make sure that if it comes down to it, I do want to be able to defend myself and my family. So, I would rather have that ability than to get into a situation that something happened to me or somebody else that I could have potentially helped by having my firearm in place and being able to properly use it.
Okay. Now, second question. Has your mindset changed since now owning a firearm? You kind of touched on it earlier, but I tell people a lot of times, yeah, you want to go get something, and then like, yeah, let me go pick up this gun, and you go try out a whole bunch of different guns. But then, at least from my experience, I had my first firearm experience when I joined the military, so it was more for work because I had to, and because of my job, I had to carry a gun, like it's just part of it. And so I shot, and I'm like, okay, cool. And it was just always a work thing, and it was never like I never implemented into my everyday life. But then I was like, you know what? Let me go pick up one. And when I purchased my own, and I started carrying, it's like a light bulb clicked, and I became more aware of like, you know what? I really need to understand this and try to figure out everything about it. And I dove deep off into firearms. Like you could ask anybody every time you see me. It's like people talk about shoes and people talk about this and that. I talk about guns. I can tell you what gun is coming out, what gun is, people don't really like. And I chose to dive deep. But I also gained a level of
Right.
respect for it. That's like, man, I I know what this can do. And again, I never want to have to use my firearm, but just in case, I train, I prepare just in case. But yeah, I did have almost like a shift in me to where I was like, you know what? Yeah, let me step back, let me walk away from certain situations because I carry a firearm. Like if I wanted to, draw my firearm and do whatever, I could do that. But you learn to walk away from certain situations. I don't argue with nobody. I don't do any of that. I just, I carry in case that presents itself, that engagement or that threat presents itself. How about you? So did it change? Did it like, when you go to pick it up, is it like, let me be extra careful or
Man, it's totally different, man, because you're like in your mind, naturally some of us are hot headed. Somebody
yeah,
says something to me, boom, I'm there. But when you have a firearm, there's a calm that comes over you because you have to start thinking your way through things. You have to understand, like, okay, is this something I can walk away from, or is this person an immediate threat, or can I de-escalate this without having to draw my fire? Like everything starts going through your head. Like I'm trying to do everything but draw this
right.
fire. I'm trying to do everything but draw my gun. Like, what all can I do to not draw my gun? And I wasn't so quick to that thought process when I wasn't carrying one. You just argue at that point because you just in your mind you're not thinking about it. But when you are carrying a firearm, that is it's literally on your body to be able to change that situation in a very different way. So you have to be mindful of that. And so those small things, those petty things that normally would make you kind of be like, oh my God, I just kind of look at them like, whew, yeah, not worth it. Because you have to be, yeah, you have to definitely, when you have a firearm, you have to be emotionally, you have to be mature. You shouldn't,
Right.
you shouldn't be carrying a firearm if emotionally you're not mature because that could lead to bad situations quickly. So that's one thing that like kind of came over me was almost like a sense of calm because I know, what I have now is different than what I was doing earlier. So I need to be mindful that, excuse me, I need to be mindful that I now have a firearm and that this is not it's not a game anymore. It's not a toy. It's to be taken seriously. So I just make sure that I don't make light of any situation. I just make sure that if I can walk away or I can de-escalate it, that is what I'm going to do first.
You know what? And when I'm explaining that to people, they don't get it. So I kind of use this analogy. Is I like to call it feeling powerful and feeling empowered. So I'm gonna touch on it later in like another video. But pretty much when you go to buy that firearm, whenever you go to start to carry, if if you have a feeling of, yeah, now I can go and do, I wish somebody would because now I got a gun, you need to step back. You need to step back, reevaluate why you got this, because to me that's dangerous. So if that sense of, like you said, calmness doesn't come over you, and you're like, man, you know what? Let me just walk away. You know, because I feel empowered. I feel like I have my life in my hands. My family's life is in my hands. I'm there to protect. Powerful people tend to feel like they have control over other people now. No,
Right,
I
right.
empower means I take ownership over my life. Powerful means you want to take ownership over somebody else's life. So again, like I
Right.
said, we're going to touch on that in a whole other video. I can talk for hours about that. But yeah, like I like what you said about that, how that calmness came over you. Now, another question. So first firearm, did you engage? Did you not engage? I'm sorry. Did you encounter anything that kind of threw you off? Like, man, like I didn't know you could do this. Did you encounter anything, a- anything like
So
that?
yeah, funny story. So I purchased my firearm from Dad Super Pond in Gulfport. Shout out to Dads, man. They were so good, man. The process was very smooth, and the salesperson he definitely gave me a good deal on it. So yeah, shout out to Dad's Pawn Shop, man. Thank you. Um, but so I brought my firearm home, and the first thing I did, I called my brother. I was like, "Hey man, I got my firearm. You know, what should I do?" He's talking me through some simple stuff, and I'm like, "All right, you know, I'm gonna put the bullets in the magazine, and I'm gonna get it going." He's like, "All right." So I call him about 5 minutes later, and he's like, "Why are you sweating?" And I was like, "Man, I'm trying to get these bullets in this magazine, man. It's hard." He was like, "Let me see." He called me on FaceTime, and I was like. I showed it to him. He said, "Yeah, your bullets are in backwards." I said, "What do you mean backwards? They only can go in one way." He was like, "No, they actually can. They can go in both ways." And I was like, "So you mean I load? That's why I was struggling." He's like, "Well, yeah, that and the springs new." And I was like, "Oh wow." So yeah, that was and I had got it to like 7 rounds in the magazine. It holds 8, and I had got to like the seventh one, and it wasn't budging. And I was like, "What's wrong?" And yeah, it was definitely an experience. But yeah, it was like yeah, didn't know you could do that.
I got you. And that's all about learning. And for people who don't know, so when you get a new firearm, normally it's very difficult to load the mags until that spring kind of like it wears in and it kind of loosens up. So I I show people because people are like, oh no, that's not possible. So this is my P365. It's clear. I have no rounds anywhere around here. So what I like to train with, I like to train with dummy rounds. Little plastic rounds that like I train for at reloads for malfunction drills. But anyways, so I like to tell people a gun is like a car. It's almost going to tell you exactly what you need to do. And if you do something wrong, just like a car, if you put the wrong gas in it, you do whatever, it's going to definitely tell you that there's something wrong. So with your magazines can go in one way, right? One way. They can't go in backwards because it won't let it. It physically won't let it. Now your rounds, on the other hand, that's a different story. So what I like to tell people is this little part right here, the actual bullet, should be facing towards the front of your gun. So when you load your magazine, yeah. So when you load your magazine, that should be facing forward. What he happened to do, which I've seen other people do it, he took that and like you can see, it can load backwards. Now you can do this with actual rounds. Just because it's a dummy round doesn't mean oh no, it's different. No, you can do it with a different with the actual round. I'm not gonna do it, but trust me, you can. So what he did, he took that and loaded them in backwards. So and it's not easy to do, but it's actually doable. So he did that, loaded it in backwards, and, and that's what it looked like. Now, if he would not have called me and would have tried to chamber this round, it would have made his gun not work. So I'm gonna show you real quick. So I'm loading in the magazine, and as you can see, it will sit in there. Like it would actually go in there. And let me go ahead and send that slide for it. So it will actually go in, but this is where it's gonna be bad. So because it was in there backwards, it was not able to chamber correctly. So for people out there who have actual live rounds, be careful, load your magazines correctly, and that won't happen. So I mean, but that's just the process, man. Like when it comes to firearms, you learn new things, you learn different things. You learn different things about your gun, about how it works, how it functions, how it feels, how it shoots, and that's just a part of the process. But I'm glad that you caught it prior to trying to load that because I did it with another gun and I sat there for about 10 minutes trying to take that dummy round out because I was like, let me check. And it actually chambered it. And I was like, yeah, good thing he called. So
Yeah.
yeah, nah, man, but trust me, you with firearms, you know what I'm saying? You just, like I said, it be as safe as possible, but you're gonna learn different types of ammunition, you're gonna learn the type of ammo that your gun likes, that it doesn't like, and you just, trial and error, man. Try like at least
Yeah.
with shooting, trial and error, man. Like, don't be discouraged. It happens. People might not talk about it, but that's why we're here, man. we're here to talk about the things that people don't want to talk about and that actually happen. Like I can tell you a thousand different things that I did wrong when I first got mine. I was cleaning it wrong, taking it apart wrong, couldn't put it back together. I'm like, man, this is a whole lot more complicated than what I really thought.
Right.
So, last question, man. Real quick, if you can give advice to anyone purchasing a firearm, first time gun buyers, haven't, maybe not have, this is their first time actually, they might own a gun, but this is their first time actually purchasing, actually carrying. What would be your advice to those people, man?
Um, when you're looking for it, find a gun that you're comfortable with, especially how it feels in your hand. The size of it. I went with a compact 9 millimeter M&P Shield. I'm a big guy. I know I got to carry it on me. I also wear clothes that are a little bit more form fitting for a big guy. So I had to be able to carry a firearm that I could comfortably put with my jeans, and I don't wear as many jogging pants anymore, but comfortably with my jeans. Also, I chose a firearm that I had shot before and that I had trained with before to purchase my first firearm. My father has the same one, but I chose that one because I was used to the way it fired. I could control it, and it was easy for me to transition to. Also, if you plan on concealing, go take the class. It's I think at in Gulfport, we the nearest one was at Gun Ho in Pass Christian. That's also where I go to the range. It's an indoor range, but I was able to register for the class, $50 deposit and $100 on the day of the class. But definitely, education is the key with most things. Being educated about the firearm, how to carry it, and then once you get that concealed carry, being able to be within the grounds of the law carrying your firearm, and then understanding firearm laws in other states so that way you could properly travel with your firearm without because that's another thing you have to be responsible about is when you go to other states, what are their laws, so that way you're into it and you're able to still carry your firearm with you. But this is my firearm. It's clear. I can show you. But yes, but it is a compact. But like I said, it's nice. It feels good in my hand. I was actually able to run it Saturday. So a couple days ago, I was able to actually run it, and I ran some practice rounds through it, Winchesters, and then I ran my self defense rounds through it, and it felt really good. I haven't shot in probably about 3 or 4 months, so it felt really good, and I enjoy my firearm like much more than I thought I would. I used to be one of those people where I thought, hey, I just put it up in the car, I put it up in the house, but I actually am going to start going to the range like twice a month, just getting to know my weapon and make sure it gets loose. Because when you buy another thing, a lot of people don't tell you buy a new gun, you have to run ammo through it in order for it to loosen up. Some things will like the slide might not lock back all the time like it's supposed to when you first get it. So you have to get it warm. You got to get it going, run some rounds through it and practice with it and practice real situations. That's another thing. I see some people go to the range and they got the target like halfway down and they're like, who are you gonna hit way down there? Like that's not even a threat at that point. You can run if they 50 yards away. Like if you can't run and they 50 yards away, like you ain't got a problem no more. You got a situation. You can't get away. But yeah, but that's one thing that my brother taught me is to practice real life. How far away would somebody have to be for you to consider them a threat? And that's where I put my target at. Now, of course, you go to the range, you are gonna have some fun. I always save Susan. That's one of my things. I actually am gonna send that
Save
clip to you.
Susan. Oh,
Yeah, so I
Susan.
always I always get this target as my last one. And it's the guy holding Susan, and Susan's guy, she's sitting there. So I always think like if it comes down to it, can I save Susan? And
Can
so
you save
that's the last.
Susan?
Yeah, I gotta be
Yeah.
able to save Susan, man. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a different experience. I enjoy carrying my firearm as far as part of my rights. Again, I never want to have to use it. If I never have to use
Correct.
my firearm, I would be totally great. But
Good.
if it comes down to it, I want to be able to defend myself and my family, and I think that's the real reason why I purchased my firearm is to make sure that if need be, I was able to take care of the situation in the best way possible.
Yes, sir. Yeah, my personal stance on having firearms and firearm ownership, and so you know where I stand on that. I believe that every home should have a firearm in it. Just for that added self. protection, self-defense, concealed carry, home care, whatever you want to call it. Have one, train with it. Like you said, don't just buy it, put it up in a box at the top of your closet, behind the shoes and the safe and all this other stuff. Buy it, train with it, shoot it. It's actually fun to go to the range. I do have fun. Yes, this is meant to protect my life, but also I like going to the range and hitting targets and hearing the steel ring at 15, 25 yards. It's fun to play shots where I want to. I enjoy going to the range. And so, Jay, I'm glad, man, that we talked about it. You had your first experience. I'm glad that you stepped out, wanted to get one. Like you said, you've seen me with one for a long time, and I'm glad that you stepped into this role of what we like to call active self-protection. And thank you for stepping in tonight, having this conversation with us real quick. I really believe that people are gonna really get a lot from what you said, because I can say it every day until I'm blue in the face, but to hear somebody new and fresh, somebody who you see at work, you see here at the gym talking about it, man, you are going to inspire a lot of people who might already have one, who've been on the fence about one. And I really appreciate you being on with us tonight, man.
Man, I want to say thank you, man, and blessings to you, brother. You're doing well with what you're teaching people. A lot of people are learning a lot of things from your channel. And I just want let you know, man, keep going. It's definitely it inspired me, and it also is very informative. There are a lot of things that I can look up on your page and be able to recall and actually implement into my current training plan. So I just want to say thank you for having me on. And if you need anything from me, you just let me know, brother. I got you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. So, again, if you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to say, if you want to be a part of this simple talk, let me know. Comments in my messages. I'm always checking it every day. So if you have anything that you want to hear on this simple talk, anything that you want us to bring up, go ahead and drop that in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share this video. Share it with your friends, with your family, people you don't know, anybody. Let them know that we're out here talking about firearms, and we're doing it in the simplest way possible. So again, appreciate you for being on, Jay. You have a good night, man.
All right. Simple carry.
And with that being said, simple carry life out.